show you that the Sabbath day was still the seventh day when you got over into the New Testament. Matthew 28 and read verse 1. 28 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read.
In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day.
Wait a minute. What day is the day before the first day? It is the seventh day, isn't it? So then, well, what day is the Sabbath day? It is still the seventh day, isn't it? Let's go now. Let's go now to Leviticus chapter 23, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Show you what the Lord wants you to do on this day. You know, He done told you don't work. You don't do your pleasure. You know, you don't kindle no fire, which is dealing with cooking. Now I'm going to show you what it is that the Lord says that you are supposed to do on the Sabbath day. Because there's something that you're supposed to do. Leviticus chapter 23, and began reading at verse 1. 23 and 1. 23 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord.
Now the Lord spake unto Moses, and he told Moses, speak unto the children of Israel, and he said, concerning the feast of the Lord, not concerning the feast of the Jews, but concerning the feast of the Lord. Go ahead and read on.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
Go ahead.
6 days shall work be done. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest.
Now the Lord said the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. And look what else he says. Go ahead and continue reading.
A holy convocation.
A holy convocation. The Lord is commanding that you have a convocation on that day. You understand what I'm saying? This is not Moses telling you to do this. This is the Lord saying that you are supposed to do this. Have a holy convocation. That is why we are gathered here today. It is the seventh day, and the Lord commands that you have a holy convocation on that day. And the Lord said when you do it, you call it a delight before the Lord. Then the Lord will be delighted in you. And you shall ride up on the high places of the earth. Go ahead and read on.
You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Now he said it is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Because you get some brothers, they want to get real smart and say, well, you know, you was only supposed to do this when you was in the land. But the Lord said it is the Sabbath of the Lord in all of your dwellings. In every generation, didn't it? You don't think the Lord knew that Israel was going to mess up and he was going to scatter them all over the world? But yet when you discover who you are and what God's commandments are, then you were supposed to start to obey. So Israel didn't just get scattered in this modern generation or modern era. Let's go to Luke chapter 4, and we're going to pick it up at verse 14. We're going to get to some of that later. Luke chapter 4, pick it up at verse 14. Show you what Jesus did. You know, you're supposed to be a Christian, and whatever Jesus did, that is what you're supposed to do. Luke chapter 4, and we'll begin reading at verse 14. 4 and 14. Lord kept the Sabbath day. 4 and 14. Go ahead and read.
And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee.
And
there went out a fame of him throughout all the region round about.
Go ahead.
And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up.
Go ahead.
And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Now,
as Jesus' custom was to go into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stand up to read. Let's go now to Isaiah chapter 56, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. So now, Jesus kept the Sabbath day, and he attended a convocation on the Sabbath day. You are supposed to do that. That is the law of the Lord. You understand? Is that you partake in a holy convocation on the Sabbath day. Let's start reading here at Isaiah 56, and we'll begin reading at verse 1, because we've been reading over and over again about Israel supposed to do it. Israel supposed to do it. Well, I'm going to show you what the Lord said to the Gentile or to the stranger, meaning any people other than Israel. Isaiah 56 began reading at verse 1. 56 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come.
Go ahead.
And my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this,
go ahead,
and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree.
So now the Lord just telling you here, don't let the stranger say that the Lord have separated me from his people. Skip down now to verse 6 and continue. Show you what he says about the stranger here. Go ahead and read on.
Also the son of the stranger that joined themselves to the Lord to serve him.
Now, if you anybody other than Israel, if you're going to join yourself to the Lord to serve the Lord, then this is what you have to do. Go ahead and read on.
And to love the name of the Lord, to be his servant.
Go ahead.
Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold on my covenant.
So now if you're the stranger, what do you have to do? Keep the Sabbath day from polluting it, and take hold of the Lord's covenant. Go ahead and continue reading.
Even then will I bring to my holy mountain.
Now he said if you do that, then he will bring you to his holy mountain. Go ahead and read on.
And make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
So now what do the stranger have to do? The same thing that Israel have to do. Let's go over to Acts chapter 13 now. And we'll begin reading at verse 13. Acts 13, and we'll begin at verse 13. Everybody understand that the seventh day was still a Sabbath day. When you got over into the New Testament, it was still a seventh day. Nowhere in the Bible can you read where God ever changed it. So it was always the seventh day. And it has always been the seventh day from the very time that God created man and set him on this earth. Let's start reading at Acts 13 and begin at verse 13. Acts 13 and 13. Okay, go ahead and read.
Now when Paul and his company loosed from Paphos, they came to Perga in Pamphylia.
Wait a minute, they came to where? Perga. They didn't go to Jerusalem. They came to Perga. And look what they were doing in Perga. Go ahead and read on.
And John, departing from them, returned to Jerusalem. But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia.
Now then they left Perga, and they came to Antioch and Pisidia, and look what they was doing there. Go ahead and read on.
And went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down.
Oh, they was keeping the Sabbath day even in Perga and Antioch. You understand what I'm telling you? They was still, because everybody want to tell you that they was only supposed to keep the Sabbath day when they was in the land. Well, why are these people keeping it here? I had a brother say to me once, show me in the Bible where Israel kept the Sabbath day anywhere but in the land. I showed him this, conversation was over. The Lord said, in every generation, in all of your dwellings, and that is what he meant. Now, skip down to verse 42. Show you who was there in the synagogue. Go ahead and read.
And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath.
Oh, so other words, you had the Gentiles, they were sitting there on the Sabbath day too, right? Why were they sitting there on the Sabbath day? You know why they were sitting there on the Sabbath day? Because the Lord said in the 56th chapter of Isaiah, if the stranger going to come to his holy mountain, then he got to keep the Lord's Sabbath day from polluting it and take hold of his covenant and keep his hand from doing any evil. Same thing Israel had to do. Sabbath day was for everybody, people. Now here we are. We got all the way over into the New Testament, and the Sabbath day is still good, isn't it? Go ahead and continue reading.
Now when the congregation was broken up,